we must get out of the national inertia and maybe laziness. When you make a constitution, you must be able to internalize it, you must be able to read it, understand it, and get rid of your old mindset that had given a specific 5-year term under Section 9 to the president. That provision was dropped. But I'm advocating for a new era, an era where the election process must be taken over by the citizens. And the chairman's role should be reduced to being a clerk, make the final announced declaration.
So what will stop the IEBC from giving directives on where the media can actually...
Why should they? Where do they get the right to deny us access to freedom of information? Article 10 gives us the right to provide transparency and accountability.
Okay.
And further, Article 34 prohibits the state from interfering with any broadcast or content of any broadcast. Bomas of Kenya is a crime scene. Bomas of Kenya is where those who want to manipulate our elections acquire a bird's eye view of the whole country. Then you are giving them an extra 7 days to decide how they are going to manipulate that process.
A very good day to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Candy Talk. My name is Evans Okinya. I'm glad that you're here with us. I'm joined by my resident guest, Wakili Willis Otieno, who is the Deputy Party Leader of Safina Party. And of course, he's a constitutional lawyer and a governance expert. Wakili, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Yes.
I do understand that you specialize much in elections.
Public law.
Public law.
Public law. That is public, that's constitutional and administrative law.
But why are you so much concerned with elections? Somebody would...
But it's about realizing the wish of the people. To who do elections serve? Elections are an opportunity for people to donate their sovereignty and determine how they are going to be governed. It's a donated trust. So I'm more concerned about ensuring that that donation of the sovereign right is done in a free, fair, and transparent manner, and in accordance with what the people have assigned us to themselves as their laws and the guiding principles in the donation of that power and its exercise by those whom they've donated the power to. That is why my interest is largely in public law.
Okay, I want us to talk about the elections in this particular country here. It goes without saying that it seems that we do things differently when we compare to other developed countries in the developed world over there. What do you see as the difference between how Kenyans actually conduct themselves in terms of their elections and what we witness in India with such kind of population, and even in the US? Where are we getting it wrong as a country?
You know, the main problem in our elections purely resides in what is called the National Tallying Center. That's the problem of our elections. The transmission of results. Our elections are largely peaceful, orderly, and the citizens ordinarily turn out to vote in large numbers. And you'll find there's no contestations as to the balloting process. The contestations normally arise when it comes to how you process the results. That is where our elections are messed up. And the moment we established a national tallying center, that we are telling constituents that once you vote, those results are provisional, should not be shared, and you wait for a national tallying center in Nairobi to tell the people of Samburu how they voted. And yet the people of Samburu are there, the ones who voted. They observed the count, they recorded the returns, and they know what it is. Now they are told that information cannot be shared to the rest of Kenya until the National Tallying Center determines it. The ballot papers are not even in the National Tallying Center. They are down on the ground. And I always say this. If you look into our regulations for elections, every polling station has a maximum 600 voters per polling station, maximum. If polling ends at 5 p.m., and give or take 1 hour that you are spending in rearranging the room to start the count. So that is 1 hour takes you to 6 o'clock. From 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, you are doing the count, and the first count is presidential. So ordinarily you'll expect by 7 o'clock in the night, give or take, all the polling stations have counted the presidential votes. And then out of abundance of caution, give them an extra 2 hours in case there are any delays. By 9 p.m. of elections night, there is no polling station in this entire country that is still counting presidential votes. None. So it means by 9 p.m. of the elections night, the results of the presidential elections are known. They are out there. Every polling station has done its count. But what are Kenyans subjected to? They are subjected to the theater of the absurd, with the dancing choirs at Bomas of Kenya, and old men reading transcripts every few hours for 7 days, telling you that we are receiving results, we are receiving results, we are receiving results. And they announce 2 constituencies and wait, 3 constituencies and wait. Some of those constituencies, the number of the tally and the registered voters don't even add up. You find that the people who have voted are more than the registered voters. So they keep you through a very painstaking process that is obscured, that is not transparent, that is not accountable. Then they tell you the winner of the elections is X. And that is why Kenyans rise up in arms. So you spend 7 days to manipulate the election results. That is the problem of our elections.
Okay.
How comes we don't witness hot contestations at the county level? We've seen in constituencies where, or even wards, somebody loses an election by 2 votes, 3 votes, and they accept it. Why? Because the boxes are there, the ballots are there, the counting was done in the presence of agents. They can all tell where the 2 votes were lost.
Okay.
And they accept the results. But when it comes to presidential, it is so muddied and it's so fragile. Somebody starts telling you the results of a polling station in Kakdinu. Before you track that one, it takes you to a polling station in Mvita Primary School. Before you track that one, it takes you to a polling station in North Hall. Before you track, you're now a polling station.
Okay.
And that's what they're showing you at the National Tallying Center. The National Tallying Center, number one, is a very expensive tallying center. It cost us a minimum 8 billion Kenya shillings to put up. In fact, if you add up the entire elections infrastructure, the technological components of the National Tallying Center, it cost almost 15 billion, just that alone. But it gives us what causes conflict in this country. Elections should be done at the constituency level as per Article 138 of our Constitution. And every constituency should be able to declare for us their results. Mvita, these are our results for elections. Read. And you announce it publicly to the whole country. And everybody writes, Mvita, that was the returning officer, we saw him on TV, announcing the results. This is the return. And when he was coming up with the results, he was there with the polling station officials. He was there with the agents. He was there with the people of Mvita. When he's announcing, they are all in the hall. Everybody sees. We take note. You go to Bobasi, same thing. You go to Alego, same thing. Until we reach the 290 constituencies. That's a transparent process, so that if there's any dispute in our elections, it should be confined to constituencies where you say this RO is announcing results that are not consistent with the forms or the ballots in that constituency. So you narrow a dispute to only a particular constituency. And you are able to call the votes in that constituency, subject them to a scrutiny, and you get your returns. But when you say you're challenging the results announced at the National Tallying Center, where not even a single ballot paper lands, what are you doing?
So my question is, what normally happens at the Bomas of Kenya if elections are conducted at the polling stations and it should be done there?
Bomas of Kenya is a crime scene. Bomas of Kenya is where those who want to manipulate our elections acquire a bird's eye view of the whole country. Because as I've told you, by 9 o'clock of elections night, they already know how everybody voted. They know who has won that election. So then you are giving them an extra 7 days to decide how they are going to manipulate that process. And that's what happens at Bomas of Kenya.
Isn't this extra 7 days given to them by the Constitution?
Yes, it's given to them by the Constitution. And what are they using it for? They're using it to manipulate.
So what was in the mind of the framers of the Constitution at this point when they decided to give the electoral body the 7 days period to actually...
That was purely for administrative purposes, but it was not meant for the National Tallying Center. There is nowhere in our Constitution that talks about a National Tallying Center. In fact, our Constitution, Article 138, provides that presidential elections shall be held in each constituency. So a reading of Article 138 tells you that our presidential elections are constituency-based. You go to each constituency and you conduct a presidential election per constituency, and that constituency declares the results. Then everybody can become a tallying officer. Constituency A has declared, you write down. So the IBC chairperson crystallizes and calls himself a returning officer. When there is not that term in our constitution, his role in the constitution is only to make the final declaration of the results. He can be doing that from his boardroom. In 202, Kivuitu was in his boardroom, announcing the results. In his boardroom, at Anniversary Towers. Subsequent to that, now they came up with the National Tallying Center, KACC, then Bomas, which has become a theater of the absurd. That people just end up there to manipulate the results and the wishes of the people. We lose transparency and accountability of the electoral process when we set up that National Tallying Center. We should be conducting our elections as per the Constitution and the minor KI case at the constituency level, make the announcement at the constituency tallying centers, and everybody can do their tally. And then, subsequently, the chairman will formally release the results after the 7 days. So in the ideal, we should be knowing our president-elect 2 days or even 1 day after election polling. In the United States of America, for example, you've given that example.
Yes.
Elections takes place at night, that day. Early morning the next day, in fact, as the polling is taking place, even when some areas are still voting or they're still counting, states that have concluded the counts share their results, and we all know. By the next day in the morning, the president-elect will have made his acceptance speech based on projections by networks. The chairperson or the election management body of that country sits almost 1 month after to formally ratify the count. That time, everybody has known the president-elect, he has given his acceptance speech, the loser has conceded, and the country has moved on by the time the electoral management body sits down to ratify the results. That is what we should be doing. We, in essence, in our constitution, we adopted the American architecture of their constitution, bicameral parliament, positions of governors, elections on the second Tuesday, just like America, election on the second Tuesday. Pure presidential system, not parliamentary system. Even the manner of conducting elections, we said in the constituencies.
Yes.
Them is in the states. But how comes we are not adhering to it? If we've said it's the constituency, they've said it's in the state, we should do it in the constituency and make the declarations at the constituency. The chairman will sit later after 7 days to formally ratify what the constituencies have done.
Okay.
But our National Tallying Center is set up as a crime scene to manipulate, to undermine, and to subterfuge the true wish of the people of Kenya. And Kenyans need to start demanding that we don't need the National Tallying Center. That 12 billion they're using can be used to provide healthcare services to those who deserve it.
Now, you've just talked about the purpose of the National Tallying Center, or what it has been used for in the past elections that we've witnessed in this country. And you've just talked of election manipulation here. And I'm like, do you think that we are at a point where this can actually be a thing of the past for us as a country, such that we do not have people who have some sort of trust deficit in the electoral body?
No. For as long as the electoral process lacks transparency, the trust deficit will always be there. And the most opaque place is the National Tallying Center, Bomas. Bomas becomes a military installation if you go there. And yet, not a single ballot paper lands at Bomas. But at the constituency tallying centers, all electoral materials, all the ballot papers, all the KIMS kits, all the result declaration forms are at the constituency tallying centers. But we are never shown, and even the media is not allowed to transmit the formal announcements of the results by the constituency returning officers at their respective constituencies. We never get to see them. That's what I'm saying we must stop.
Okay.
This idea of IBC telling the media to go and get their feeds from Bomas should end. Our media should be able to relay the information and the declarations of results that are made at the constituency by the constituency ROs at the conclusion of the tally. That is in line with the transparency and accountability provisions of our constitution. Just tell us, this is the RO for this area. He is at the tallying center for that area. He is conducting the tallying of the votes. He has finished. He has stood up to make the declaration. We can relate to the nation. Let everybody write down what the RO for that area said.
Okay.
And we go step by step until all the ROs will have concluded. And I've told you, all these processes are concluded at the polling stations by 9. Give or take, in terms of now moving from the polling station to the constituency tallying centers. The constituency tallying centers will start the processes of making declarations the second day. Depending on distance, some will be on the third day. So the third day we should be seeing an avalanche of results from the constituencies and declarations being made by the constituency ROs and publicly captured by the media. They capture the receipt of the results from the polling stations. They should be able to capture the process of tallying. And they should be able to capture, once the tallying is concluded, the declaration at this constituency. And tell us, these are the results as captured in this constituency. That accords to the requirements of transparency and accountability. But to go and get a feed from Bomas, they don't even know where it's coming from. That is how Jose Camargo ends up manipulating our elections.
Talking of the media getting involved here, remember last time several media outlets from within the country are actually relaying those results live. So these are the kind of feeds that you're saying that you are getting directly from the Bomas of Kenya.
The media were getting their feeds from Bomas of Kenya. Okay. IBC issued a guideline to them to go and get their feed from Bomas of Kenya. I am saying the media should stop getting their feed from Bomas of Kenya. They should be present at every constituency tallying center and witness and record the tallying process by the constituency ROs. Once the process has concluded, the RO is obligated to stand up and read the tabulation. The media should record him reading.
Okay.
And the votes received by each candidate per constituent, but in that constituency. And every Kenyan should take note what the RO has said. There's evidence what he has said.
So we take from this particular constituency until we reach the 290th one.
Yes.
And definitely will be there. But then even so, even going by what was happening last time with the media houses in Kenya, they reached that point where the IBC decided even to stop that. They said, no, look, it's now our mandate to go ahead and
But
actually...
where are they getting the feed from?
And
they are getting the feeds from IBC.
But even that one was stopped as well.
So that's what I'm telling you, it's even stopped.
Yeah.
It tells you, once you're relying on IBC and IBC has become a crime scene, the criminal will tell you stop relaying.
So do you believe
and even deny you the feeds?
Do you believe that if at all every media house would have gone the direction that you're saying of getting those results directly from the constituencies, then they would end up having different results from what the IBC portrays?
They will end up having the different results from what the IBC Bomas process showed us. And it will instill trust in our electoral process because the media will have documented and relayed to the public the actual tallying at the constituency level and the announcements made at that constituency level. And we all will have seen. And if there's any dispute, that dispute will have been localized to a particular constituency. Raila Odinga, for example, had no problem with the votes cast in Kisumu, Central Constituency. Yeah. But he had to challenge the entire elections, including those ones for areas where he didn't have a problem. Why? Because the process is muddled.
Okay.
You don't even know which results are being relied on to declare the results.
So the media comes up with their own results. The IBC also have their own results. So
you are
what
not
is
getting
it?
me.
Okay.
I have not said they are coming up with their own results. The media is not an election management body.
Okay.
The media is a relayer of information. The media is only capturing the arrow of that constituency, doing his work, and communicating to Kenyans the announcements that are made by that arrow in his constituency.
Yes.
That is not coming up with its own results. That is the media saying, this arrow has done the tally, we observed, we recorded him. This is what he announced. And every Kenyan at that point should be able to take note. And that is permissible in our constitution.
I get
Such
you.
that if the Bomas process is trying to tell us something that is different from what was recorded, then you know the problem is in this constituency. The dispute becomes narrowed down to that particular constituency.
And that is why I was asking. So, if at all by our own tally as members of the Fourth Estate, we find that, of course, the leading candidate, he's here with around 7 million, then the official results, of course, official from the IBC says, no, it's not that one, it's this one based on their own tallying at the National Center. So won't this create some sort of confusion?
No, it will not create confusion because your tally is informed by witnessing and recorded evidence. Yeah. And this is part of putting pressure on the Bomas process.
Okay.
So Bomas will have to explain why they are moving away from what everybody witnessed. Yeah.
So that means that at least in the next coming elections, we expect the media to play a very crucial role in that.
Both mainstream media and social media. TikTok must record the elections, the tallying process. TikTok in every constituency must record the voting process, the counting process, the tallying process, and the announcement. It must be recorded by TikTok. And mainstream media is invited to do the same. And relay. It will be TikTok live this time.
So what will stop the IBC from giving directives on where the media can actually...
Why should they? Where do they get the right to deny us access to freedom of information? Article 10 gives us the right to provide transparency and accountability.
Okay.
And further, Article 34 prohibits the state from interfering with any broadcast or content of any broadcast. So why is IBC trying to interfere with
But we've seen that interference before.
Is what I'm telling you. Those are unconstitutional. Article 34 prohibits the state from interfering with any broadcast content.
Do you have
Article 10 of the Constitution includes transparency and accountability as part of the principles of governance in this country. So are you advocating for IBC to ignore the Constitution?
I'm not actually advocating for that, but what faith do you have that what happened back then in 2022 will not happen in 2027?
That is why we are talking about it.
Okay.
That is why Kenyans have to be sensitized and they must take ownership of the elections.
Okay.
And recording the process is not interfering with anybody's rights. In fact, it is adhering to the Constitution, Article 10 and Article 34. That is what this Constitution is about. Bringing transparency in every administrative processes that are being undertaken.
We are actually in the process of the formation of the new IBC commissioners. Let me say so, because right now we do not have the commission. In the first place, why is it that Kenyans are so much obsessed with whoever becomes the chairperson of this particular body? And while at it, what would be your expectations of the new commission as we get
because
2027?
The chairpersons of IBCs are the ones who are used to manipulate our elections. That is why there's that obsession.
Okay.
But I'm advocating for a new era. An era where the election process must be taken over by the citizens. And the chairman's role should be reduced to being a clerk. Make the final announced declaration. Once everybody has seen the process, has done their own tally, and we've seen the outcome of the elections. That is going to be the new elections.
Okay.
And Kenyans must be focused on that. IBC commissioners or chairpersons are merely referees. It's like saying in a football match, every spectators are on the sidelines, watching the game. The players are on the field, participating in the game. When a goal is scored, they all see a goal is scored. When the match ends, They all know the results of that match. But officially, the referee will write his match report, which will be submitted to the federation. And the match report will just be recording the scores as witnessed by everybody. It doesn't mean that now the referee should have an opportunity to go and write in his match report that Team A lost the match when everybody on the field saw Team A defeated Team B by 5 goals. Now in the match officials report, it is shown as Team A lost by 2 goals. How? That's what I'm saying. See, the players were there. The spectators were there. They all observed. The media recorded the goals. So the match report cannot be any different from what everybody saw.
Okay.
And if it's different, we have the evidence from the players. We have the evidence from the spectators. We have the evidence from the media that recorded the goals. There's nothing difficult about IEBs.
Okay.
But in our situation, you have a case where the commission, people go to a match, spectators are there, players are there, they all witness the scores. Then you are told, forget about those scores that you witnessed. The IBC at Bomas in Nairobi, FKF will tell you who the winner of the match is. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And
That can't be a game.
And doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. Finally, as we conclude this show, you've been in this country long enough, and we've seen the evolution of our electoral system in the country, moving all the way from the Mlolongo system that was used during President Moi's era, and I wonder whether it was also used during President Kenyatta's era. But then we've moved all the way up to a point where we are now having what we call the universal suffrage. What do you think that why is it that up to now we are still at this level with the advancement in technology and all that, and yet we still get it wrong?
I've told you we get it wrong because people want to manipulate our votes.
We thought
technology is meant to assist. In football, we brought VAR. And VAR has been assisting in terms of making offside calls.
Yes.
Or infringements of the rules. But us, we brought technology into our elections to manipulate and undermine.
That means that technology is still an hindrance.
Technology is good, but technology is only as good as the people behind it. If you have a thief behind a technology, what you blame technology, you blame the thief.
Blame the thief.
Yeah. So our deployment of technology has not been to further enhance the transparency and accountability of our elections. It's been used to undermine the vote. So what we should be talking about is we need to deploy technology for the right purposes, to enhance transparency, not to undermine the true wish of the people of Kenya as cast in the ballot.
Apart from technology, social media, and maybe the mainstream media, what else are you people actually, or rather can Kenyans actually leverage on to ensure that this particular time we do not have cries left and right and center?
The only thing Kenyans can do is take ownership of your elections and record it. That's all. Just take ownership and record it. Because I don't have a problem with how Kenyans cast their ballots. It's normally largely peaceful. So very few instances, in fact negligible, of interference with the casting of the ballot. The problem is the transmission of the results. And that transmission process is going to be stopped when the people take ownership and they record the process and document it and relay it. You deny an opportunity for the referee to go rogue. That's why I'm yet to hear of a referee in a football match reporting a different score from what everybody was witnessed and was recorded. I'm yet to hear. Why? Because there's witness. It was transparent. It was recorded. It can be referred to. If you went there to the federation that these are the results from my match report, he'll be told, let's play the video, the recording. You are useless referee. Where are your 5 goals when all we are witnessing on the pitch were only 2 goals?
Okay.
That is what we should be telling the IBC commissioners and chairperson. We are going to record our elections and we'll replay and share it to everybody.
At least this time around, Kenyans are not just going to line for long hours. The votes must actually count.
The vote must count.
Whether it's 2026 or 2027, you
It
talk
shall
of
be
2026.
2026. Me, I'm a student of the rule of law.
You talk of 2026.
I am a student of the rule of law, and I still challenge anybody who has a different opinion. Come for debate. Anybody, anytime, any day. Choose a venue of your choice. Let's debate the
The second Tuesday of August next year.
Second Tuesday of August in 2026, the 5th year. In the 5th year. Elections shall be held on the second Tuesday of August in the 5th year. In, not out, not after,
The second?
not every. The second Tuesday in August in every 5th year. Not even in every 5 years, in every 5th, inside the 5th year. Second Tuesday of August. I challenge anybody with a counter review, come for a debate.
Meaning the 2nd August of 2027 will be outside the 6th
The
year.
2nd August of 2027 is outside the 5th year. In fact, there's only one August in 2027 that falls inside the 5th year. And I think that's the 3rd of August, 2027. And that's the 1st August in that year. In that, that's the 1st August, it's not the 2nd. The 2nd Tuesday in August in the 5th year falls in 2026. And for those who are saying that the president must serve for a term of 5 years, there is nowhere in our constitution that gives a president a 5-year term. And for good measure, Uhuru Kenyatta in his first term served for 4 years and 5 months as president. In his second term, he served for 4 years and 8 months as president. So under our current constitution, no one has ever served for president for 5 years. We must get out of the national inertia and maybe laziness. When you make a constitution, you must be able to internalize it, you must be able to read it, understand it, and get rid of your old mindset that had given a specific 5-year term under Section 9 to the president. That provision was dropped. So you must wake up as Kenyans. We are now in a 4-year term in office. I told you, we went American. You must take everything that comes with it.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a conversation on our electoral process in this country. Of course, Kenyans do make long queues during the election day, but do their voting actually count? Does your vote count as a Kenyan? That is the conversation that we've been having here with Wakili Willis Otieno. Weigh in and tell us what you actually think. Allow me to stop for now till we have this conversation again. Have yourself a lovely day. My name is Evans Okinyi.